Hello everyone, welcome to Best Recipes with Sharon. Here I will be making Boston cream tartlets with chocolate ganache. And this should make enough for about 2 dozen of the mini tartlets. And today's recipe concentrates on the Boston cream filling and the chocolate ganache. For the base, you can use a flaky pie crust recipe, or you can use your favorite rolled cookie recipe. Either way, roll it out nice and thin and cut it in rounds that fit your little mini tartlet pan. Today I'm using a little bit of the flaky pie crust recipe because I happen to have some on hand. But I can imagine this would be delicious, absolutely delicious, with different rolled cookie recipes. You would have to do basically the same thing though. When you put them in the pan, they would have to be weighted down so that they don't shrink on you. And how I would do that would be get some aluminum foil and cut it into small pieces. Place those pieces in on top of your dough like this. And then of course place your little weights in on top of that. You can fill it up as much as you want to weight it down as much as you think you need to do. The pie crust, I have the oven at 425 degrees. And watch it closely, it only takes a few minutes, maybe 8 minutes or so. And I'm thinking if it was a cookie dough, depends on what cookie dough you're using, but probably 350 to 375 degrees for maybe 8 to 10 minutes. I left the aluminum foil hanging out so that it's easy to grab a hold of and remove. And check and see that it's cooked through to the bottom. If it's not, you can put it back in the oven for a little bit longer without the foil, just for a minute or so. So alright, let's do the Boston cream filling. We'll need some heavy cream and some egg yolks to start with. So I used 1 cup of heavy cream and topped it up with another ½ cup of just regular milk. Place that in a medium-sized saucepan and add 3/4 cup of white sugar. Next, add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And whisk that all together before you start to heat it up. Your heat on medium-high and get it starting to warm up. Whisk your egg yolks together and then take a cup and I remove a little bit of the warmed milk and cream and add it to the egg yolks and add it right directly back to the mixture and mix it thoroughly and quickly. Continue to warm it and whisk it until it thickens up. Once it starts to thicken, it will happen very quickly. So be careful that you don't scorch the bottom of it. So you need to remove the pan from the heat sometimes a little bit and put it back on. And once it starts to thicken up, remove it from the heat entirely and add about 1 tablespoon of butter and about 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Just whisking that together until everything's well combined. Cover it with some aluminum foil so it doesn't form a skin while it's cooling down. Once it's cooled off, then you just spoon it into your baked shells. And it's probably easier if you don't fill it too full so that you leave room for the ganache. Some of mine I filled a little bit too full here, so next time I would leave it down just a bit more so that I'd have more room and have a lot more chocolate on top. But that's just minor details that you can do according to what your preferences are. So now it's time to remove them from the pan, put them on a plate, and then I'll put them in the fridge to cool them off completely. So once again, I'll cover them with some aluminum foil and then I'll place them in the fridge to chill. So let's go on to making this really tasty chocolate ganache. So use a high quality chocolate of your choice. I'm using milk chocolate, but I think dark chocolate would work just as well. Break it into small pieces in a small bowl. Will help it to melt easier for you. So we'll need 6 ounces of chocolate, and the chocolate that I used, it was 1½ bars. Then measure out about 2/3 cup of heavy cream. Heat on medium-high and place that in a small saucepan and start it heating up. Keep a close eye on it because it doesn't take very long. It'll start to steam and you'll see a few bubbles at the edges. You lift the pan off the heat and tilt it a little bit. You'll notice that it bubbles quite readily at the bottom of the pan, and that's when it's ready. Remove it from the heat and add it quickly to the chocolate. Just pour it right over the top like this. Let it sit for a minute or two and then take a whisk and whisk it all together and keep mixing it until it's well combined and smooth. And here you can add about a half a teaspoon of vanilla. Let it cool down to thicken up just a little bit more before adding it on top of your tartlets. I set it back in the fridge to chill and set a little bit more. The ganache will thicken just a little bit, but it remains very silky and smooth. The longer you let the ganache set before adding it to the tartlets, the less chance of it leaking down over the edge like this. But also, I think I've filled mine a little bit too full, so leave a little bit more room than I did if you want to keep the ganache right on top. Thank you so much for watching Best Recipes with Sharon today, and I hope you make and enjoy this recipe. And until next time, happy eating!